A 95-year-old Solent resident has been awarded the Freedom of the City of London for his work raising awareness of loneliness. Bob Lowe is a community champion for the Silver Line, set up by Esther Rantzen to support and offer a listening ear for older people feeling lonely. 2 years ago, we heard how Bob, who is very active in the community and on his computer, still suffers occasionally from feeling alone since the death of his wife. Married for 65 years, here's a reminder from when Bob told us of the success of their long marriage was making up after the odd row.
Oh, on one occasion she threw a table lamp at me. Fortunately, it was still plugged in and didn't reach me, and it dropped down on the floor and smashed. And quite frankly, we rolled about with laughter. The not so funny part is it was a wedding gift from my mother. Crash. 9 times out of 10, after you'd made up after a quarrel, 2 or 3 days later, you've no idea what you quarrelled about. It's so ridiculous. I can remember we had a quarrel and the children were there, and we were really yelling at one another. And the children were saying, please don't, Daddy, Mummy. And we realised what idiots we were. And we all cuddled after that.
Now, since losing Kath, Bob has devoted his life to helping other people. Bob was born in London, and despite him now being a New Milton resident, in recognition of his voluntary efforts, London have awarded him the Freedom of the City. Shan Robbins reports.
Is loneliness just a human condition and we have to learn to cope with it?
Bob Lowe keeps himself busy with voluntary work that helps combat loneliness and isolation, and it was for this that he was awarded Freedom of the City of London.
To me, is a very great honour. The funny part about it, of course, is I'm allowed now to drive a flock of sheep over London Bridge. I gather that the London police are not very happy about that because it causes a problem with traffic. So that was that. But yes, that's a great honour. But then the same week I received a letter from the Prime Minister about the voluntary work I do. And I was awarded Points of Light, which is an award that goes out to people. And it was instigated by Eisenhower many years ago.
It's 5.5 years now since Kath died, and Bob, a former military man, found watching the Armistice Day ceremony alone really got to him.
As I watched it, by the time I'd finished, the tears were streaming down my face. There was a lovely girl who read a poem, and then at that moment when all the poppies fall and there's absolute silence, and you can feel for the soldiers and people that were lost in both wars. And I think that is a very, very emotional thing. And Kath and I, of course, always watch it every year, and watching it alone was really, really tough, and especially when the trumpeters play the last post.
Christmas is another time that's particularly tough for himself and others in a similar position.
All of us who are aged and we are alone, the programmes that come on television, the Christmas decorations, the trees, the children, the presents and things like that, bring back those memories. And I vividly remember, our children and the fun of Christmas, coming down Christmas morning, getting a fire going, all being in our dressing gowns, opening our presents. I shall be with my daughters this Christmas, but I dread the thought of being alone. And a lot of people are going to be alone. In fact, as far as Silverline is concerned, we get more calls at weekends and at Christmas than at any other time. And Silverline's now had over 1 million calls from lonely people talking. And they're doing very well. We've got 100 people answering the phone.
When Bob is at home, he likes to have his wife's ashes nearby.
One of our daughters made the bag that now holds Kath's ashes. And to me, it's an amazing comfort. I talk to her. I make no excuses about it. and I pretend she is there. Not so long ago, somebody walked into this room who is very religious, and they got into the middle of the room and they said, "Oh, there's a warm presence in this room. Oh, how lovely." And I thought, "Ow, could be."
For older people suffering loneliness, the Silver Line is open 24 hours a day, every day of the year. This is Shan Robbins for That's Solent.